Every April, over 500 teams from 25 countries descend on Orlando for the biggest event in cheerleading. And somewhere in Texas, a team is running their routine for the 400th time this season. And in North Carolina, a coach is watching film at 2 a.m. looking for the 10th of a point they left on the table at NCA. And in Mississippi, a team that scored a perfect 100 earlier this year is asking themselves one question: can we do it again when it actually matters? Worlds 2026, the ESPN Wide World of Sports complex. We looked at every major score from this season, every cheer sport result, every NCAA finals number, every major placement, and we narrowed it down to 7 teams that could win it all. But here's the part that's going to start some arguments. 3 of those 7 won't, and one of them has the highest score of the entire season. Let's set the stage, because Worlds isn't just another competition. Every bid, every qualifier, every 6-hour practice on a Tuesday night in January, it all leads to one weekend in April. The prize isn't just a jacket or a banner for the gym wall. It's contracts, it's sponsorships. It's the difference between being a cheerleading team and being a brand. Some of these athletes have been working toward this since they were 12 years old. They're 22 now. This might be their last season, and here's what makes 2026 different from every year before it. The talent pool is the deepest it's ever been. We counted 15 teams across level 6 divisions that scored 98 or higher this season. 15. 3 years ago, that number was 4. So when we say 7 teams could win it all, we mean it. The margin between champion and heartbreak has never been thinner. Let's start with the teams nobody is arguing about. Let's start with the team that at this point is less of a competitor and more of a force of nature. Top Gun Large Co-Ed, TGLC, 4 consecutive levels, 6 senior large co-ed world championship titles, 4 in a sports. Where defending a single title is considered a miracle, this team has done it 4 times in a row. They scored 98.3333 on day 1 of NCAA this season. And what's terrifying about TGLC isn't their score, it's their consistency. They don't have bad days, they have slightly less perfect days, and at Worlds, where the pressure turns good teams into ghosts, TGLC just performs. Going for a 5th straight title. Nobody in level 6 has ever done that, ever. If you're betting against this team, you're not analyzing cheerleading. You're hoping for a miracle. If TGLC is the team everyone talks about, Brandon Senior Black is the team everyone underestimates until the scores go up. 7-time small co-ed world champions, 7. They won the majors in January. They scored 98.4125 at Cheer Sport, one of the highest scores in any division this entire season. Then 98.2 at NCAA. Here's what makes Brandon dangerous. They don't have a highlight reel. They have a machine. Every stunt hits. Every transition is clean. Every pyramid is timed to the millisecond. It's not flashy, it's surgical. They're going for their 3rd straight Worlds title. And the scariest thing about them is that nobody outside the cheer world is giving them the attention they deserve. That's exactly how they like it. Cheer Extreme SSX, Raleigh, North Carolina, 6-time world champions. And right now, they're on the verge of doing something only a handful of teams in cheerleading history have ever done, winning 3 in a row. They took first at the majors with a 149.2 combined score. They scored 98.2833 at Spirit Sports. And if you watch their routine this season, you know what I'm talking about. It's not just good, it's mean. There's an edge to this team that other programs can't replicate. 2-time defending world champions in level 6 senior small. Their world score last year was 163.2, hitting 0 deductions both days. The question isn't whether SSX is good enough. The question is whether anyone in their division can match them when the lights come on in Orlando. 7-time world champions, 13-time NCAA champions. When you say the words cheerleading royalty, this is the program people think of. Spirit of Texas Royalty scored 98.2667 at Cheersport this season. They took a 147 at the majors, and they're competing in the level 6 medium co-ed division, a category that has become quietly the most competitive division at Worlds. What makes Royalty different from every other team on this list is experience. Not athlete experience, program experience. This coaching staff has been to Worlds so many times that the pressure doesn't register anymore. They've seen every scenario, every deduction, every controversial score, and they've won through all of it. In a sport where nerves destroy more routines than skill deficits do, having a program that treats Worlds like a Tuesday practice is worth more than any score at NCAA. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The next 3 teams could absolutely win Worlds. They have the scores, they have the talent, but each of them has a question mark that the first 4 don't. 10-time world champions, 10. Stingray Orange has won more Worlds titles than most programs have athletes. They scored 97.8333 at NCAA this season, 97.175 at 1-Up, and on paper, those are strong scores. But then you see the 96.47 at All Out Grand Nationals. For any other team, a 96.47 is a great day. For Stingray Orange, it's a red flag. This is a team that used to score 98s in their sleep. This season, they've been inconsistent in a way we haven't seen before. The question that nobody in the cheer world wants to ask out loud is the Stingray Orange dynasty showing cracks. And then there's the team that broke the internet in December. Max Rain, a perfect 100 at the UCA Sandy Fall Classic, the first perfect score from a varsity all-star competition since anyone started tracking 98-plus scores. 100 out of 100, every judge, every category, flawless. They followed it up with a 99.3333 in February, then another 98-plus. That's 4 scores above 98 this season. 4. If you haven't heard of Max Rain before this year, you're not alone. They're not from one of the traditional powerhouse gyms. They don't have a decade of world's titles on the wall. They have something that might be more dangerous, momentum, and nothing to lose. 98.4667, day 1 of NCAA All-Star Nationals, the highest single score any team has posted this entire season. Top Gun legends, 9-time world champions, 11-time NCAA champions. You know this team, you know this program, and you probably think they're a lock. Hold that thought. 7 teams, all of them have the scores, all of them have the talent, all of them have earned their spot. But Worlds isn't about what you did in February. It's about what you do on that mat, on that day, in front of those judges. And 3 of these teams are going to walk out of the ESPN wide world of sports complex without a title. Here's why. Let's start with the one that hurts the least. Max Rain scored a perfect 100. That is, without question, one of the most impressive single performances in the history of competitive cheerleading. But here's what nobody's talking about. That 100 came at the UCA Sandy Fall Classic in December against a regional panel. Worlds is a different animal. The judging panels are deeper, the scoring is tighter. The deductions that get overlooked at a fall classic get caught in Orlando, and the pressure, while performing in front of 15,000 people on an ESPN broadcast, isn't something you can simulate in practice. Max Rain has never won Worlds. They've never even been in the conversation until this season. History tells us that first-time contenders almost never break through on their first real attempt, or the experience gap is real. And in a sport where a 1/10 of a point separates first from fifth, that gap is a canyon. And they'll be great. They might even podium, but champion, not this year. This one is going to upset people. 10-time world champions, the most decorated large all-girl program in history. Stingray Orange doesn't just compete at Worlds. They own the division. But look at the numbers. 97.83 at NCAA, 97.18 at 1UP, 96.47 at All Out. That's a downward trend. And at the highest level of cheerleading, a downward trend heading into Worlds is the single most dangerous pattern a team can have. Dynasties don't end with a dramatic collapse. They end with a slow fade, a few tenths here, a missed connection there, and then one day the scores go up and the name at the top isn't yours anymore. The competition in level 6 large all-girl has caught up. The teams that used to look at Stingray Orange and think, maybe next year, they're not thinking that anymore. They're scoring 98s, that they're hitting 0, and they're hungry in a way that a 10-time champion can't be. Stingray Orange will be dangerous. They always are, but the dynasty, it might end in Orlando. Okay, this is the one. Top Gun legends, 98.4667 at NCAA Day 1, the highest single score of the entire season. 9 Worlds titles, 11 NCAA titles. On paper, this team is the favorite. But paper doesn't perform on the mat. Here's the number nobody's talking about, 97.7142. That's what Top Gun legends scored at NCAA finals, the same competition. 2 days later, they dropped 7/10 of a point from day 1 to finals, 7/10. At Worlds, you don't get to have one good day, you need 2. Day 1 and finals, back to back, under the brightest lights in cheerleading. And what NCAA told us, what the data actually shows, is that this team peaks early and fades under sustained pressure. 98.47 is the highest score of the season. It's also possibly the most misleading, because if they score 97.7 again on day 2 at Worlds, they won't just lose. They'll watch someone else hold up their trophy. The highest score of the season doesn't mean anything if you can't do it twice. So who wins? Here's what we know. TGLC has the consistency. 4 straight titles isn't luck. Brandon Senior Black has the machinery, silent, surgical, relentless. Cheer Extreme SSX has the edge and the experience of hitting 0 at Worlds 2 years in a row. And Spirit of Texas Royalty has the coaching and the calm that only comes from decades at the top. If you're asking me who to watch at Worlds, watch the teams that don't have question marks, watch the teams whose worst day this season was still a 98, watch the teams that perform the same, whether it's a January qualifier or the World's final stage. But here's the thing about cheerleading, and this is why we're all going to be watching 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That's all it takes. One routine, one moment, and everything we just talked about, every score, every prediction, every trend line becomes irrelevant. That's what makes Worlds the greatest event in cheerleading. Not that the best team wins, but that on any given day, in any given 2.5-minute window, any one of these 7 teams could prove everyone, including us, completely wrong. Worlds 2026, 7 teams. 3 won't win, but all 7 will leave everything on that mat. Drop your predictions in the comments. Who takes it? And if you think we got the 3 wrong, tell us why. That's what the comment section is for. If you're new here, Cheer Intel breaks down the biggest moments, the biggest controversies, and the biggest competitions in cheerleading. Not the highlights, the analysis. Subscribe if that's what you've been looking for. And if you missed our breakdown of how one illegal grip cost a team the 2025 World Championship, that video is right here, because the judges who made that call, some of them are on the panel in Orlando, and that should make every team on this list very, very nervous.